morning, everybody. Hi, it's Holly. Hey, welcome back to my channel, Smile by Holly. It's wonderful to have you here. Today we're actually going to be making a recipe card a recipe card box from scratch. But I wanted to showcase the actual recipe card. I'm guest designing for Scrap Diva Designs for the month of April, and I got this really cute recipe card as something to showcase. Now this is stitched all the way around the outside of the edge. The little tabs are stitched, and then the little inserts that you would put like breakfast, lunch, dinner, appetizers, all of those are also come with this die set. And here is the actual recipe card. So you would stamp it and then cut it out with your die cut. Isn't that adorable? Anyway, I'm so excited to show you my recipe card and my box. Now, once again, this is from Scrap Diva Designs. When you go to checkout, make sure you use coupon code SMILE by Holly and you'll receive 10% off. So let's go ahead and take a look at our little recipe box. I have used a Doodlebug collection. I think it's called Sprinkled with Love. I'll have to double check. But look how fun. I've made this little embellishment kind of popped up so it stands up. I've added some cute little sequins, and of course I've added my bows, but isn't that so cute? I love all the kind of spring-like colors on here. And so this opens up, and here is where you will see all those cute cards that I use the Scrap Diva design and stamp on. Isn't that so cute? So you have the little tab here, and then here is the actual card. Now it's probably a little bit hard to see that stitching, but all of these do have the stitching on them. Isn't that fun? Now in hindsight, I was so excited to use all these fun papers, but I thought, you know, that could be kind of hard to write the recipe in and have it be legible. So it might be better for me to go in and maybe back my recipe cards on some of the cute colors and just make my actual card white. What do you guys think? But I still think all of these colors turned out so cute, and they just fit right down into our recipe card box. So thank you to Scrap Diva Designs. I love this recipe card, but let's go ahead and make our recipe box. Okay, so what you are going to need is you are going to need 4 pieces of paper. Okay, 2 pieces of paper for the actual box and 2 pieces of paper for the lid. Now the 2 pieces of paper for the actual box are 9 3/4 by 5 1/2. 9 3/4 by 5 1/2. For the lid, it's slightly larger so it will fit down over the box. And this is going to be 10 by 4 1/2. 10 by 4 1/2. Let's go ahead and score these. So I'll bring my scoreboard in. So how are you guys today? I hope you're having a great day. It's Monday. Are we ready for another week? Well, I say bring it on. Bring it on. Okay, so we're going to take our 2 pieces that are for the box. And on the 9 3/4 side, we are going to score it at 6 1/4 and at 9 1/4. 6 1/4 and 9 1/4. Then we're going to go ahead and turn it to the short side, which is the 5 1/2 inch side, and we are going to score it at 1/2 inch. Okay, now let's go ahead and do that to the other one. So on the long side, it's 6 1/4 and 9 1/4. And then on the short side, it's at 1/2 inch. I'm just going over it twice. Okay, now let's bring in our lid. These are the 2 pieces. On the 10-inch side, we want to score it at 1/2 inch and at 3 5/8. 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 5/8. And then on the short side, which is the 4 1/4 inch side, you want to score it at 3 1/4 and at 2 1/2. Okay. Let's do that on our second one, and we'll be ready to assemble our box. So on the 10-inch side, you want to score it at 1/2 inch and at 3 5/8. And then turn it to the short side. You want to score it at 3/4 of an inch and at 2.5. Okay, we are ready to assemble our box, our recipe box. So let's start out with the actual box. So I'm going to go ahead and fold on all of my score lines. I was so excited when I got this cute recipe card from Scrap Diva Designs. I knew the exact kit from Doodlebug that I was going to use. Isn't that funny? I saw it and immediately I knew what I was going to use to make this cute little box and recipe cards. So I folded on all of the score lines. Now what we're going to do is we are going to be making some cuts. Okay, so here is our base, and you can see that I've got the 1/2 inch score line up here at the top. Okay, 1/2 inch score line. What we're going to do first is we're going to just corner cut down here at the bottom. So I just took a little tiny snippet off. We're going to also do that up here, but we're going to cut in to the corner right there where the two score lines meet. We're going to cut up and then cut out so it leaves that kind of shape. So I cut into the score line and then out. Now over here, I'm going to flip it upside down. There is that score line right there. We are just going to cut into it and then cut into it from this side, which is going to make a triangle. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing over on this corner. Just cut it out so it cuts off just a little bit. This helps the box so that it folds together without too much bulk, just by cutting those little indents off. Okay, so let's do that one more time on our big piece. So we've got the little 1/2 inch score line up here at the top and the 1/2 inch score line over here on the side. We're going to just cut from this score line, just a little tiny triangle off. And then over here, we're going to cut up to that score line where they intersect and then cut out. Okay, now we'll flip it around. Here on this score line, we're going to cut into the score line. We're actually making a triangle and then cut over here into the score line. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. And there's our triangle. And then over here, once again, we're just going to cut a little piece off, a little snippet. So if you're looking at these, that is what the base of your box is going to look like. So let's bring in our lid. I'm going to refold this. You want that 3/4 of an inch score line up here at the top, and then the 1/2 inch score line over here on each side. And it's kind of almost the same. What we're going to do to start out, you can see there's two score lines right over here on that 1/2 inch side. The first one we are just going to cut out. So you'll see that rectangle, and we are just going to cut that out. Boom. I'm actually going to make a little cut, a triangle cut. People call it a haircut, just like we were doing, so the box folds a little bit easier. And then right up here, we're going to go into that intersection and then out like we did on the base. So into the intersection and then out. Then once again, we're going to, on this score line, we're going to make our triangle. So we're going to go into that score line from that side and into the score line from that side. And that makes that little triangle. And then over here on the end of the 3/4 inch score line, just cut out a little triangle. Now I hope that's making sense for you, but this is what it's going to look like. So let's do that one more time. Once again, you've got the 3/4 of an inch score line at the top, and then the 1/2 inch score line over here on the right. So we're going to cut out that first triangle, cut that out, cut that little puppy out. And then we are going to now cut into that score line and then cut out. Okay, now we're going to make our triangle right here. We're going to cut in to the intersection of that, and then over here cut in to meet it. Boom. And then let's just cut a little corner up there. Now the only other thing we need to do now with our lid is, you see this score line right here. Okay, this score line. We are going to cut up on that score line, and then I am just going to slightly cut out a little bit on each side. Does that make sense? So I cut up on the line, and then I cut a teeny piece off each side so that it gives it a little bit of wiggle room. So on this score line, it's right here, we're going to just cut up on that score line. And to ensure that my lid folds really nice, I'm going to take a little teeny tiny bit off this side and have it meet in the middle, and a little tiny piece off of that side. Okay, do you see how that leaves it for that? So we've got everything cut out. We've got our 2 lids and then our 2 bases. Now we are going to be cutting a notch out, and we will do that at the very end, but let's just go ahead and glue everything together. We're going to add glue onto our tab. This kind of takes the guesswork out. You just put glue onto the tab here, and then we're going to have this tab over on here, but we're going to glue this on top of this, and just make sure that your score lines right along the top, I should make that a little bit more even, are lining up. Okay. Okay, and then we are going to fold our tab in right here and glue this together. Now, before you glue yours, if you want, you can go ahead and make a little notch right now if you feel like it might be too hard once the box is assembled. So just know that's an option. Okay, I'm just lining everything up, and it should just line up and then lay completely flat. Okay, now these are going to fold down, and then we are going to cut 1 extra piece of paper to lay for the bottom. And there is our base for our recipe card holder. Let's go ahead and put together our lid. Now our lid was slightly longer, and if you'll see why, it's kind of obvious, but that has to be longer so it fits down over the bottom of the box. Okay, so let's go ahead and add glue onto our tab and just hook those together. Okay, now we are going to add glue over to this tab, and then this just folds up on top of it, and it should line up just perfectly. Yep, it lines up just great. And then these 2 are going to fold in, and that's going to fold in, and that will make the top of our box. So let's go ahead and add some glue there. Now, if you're wondering about the seams, if you can see right here on the front of this box, there's that seam that's showing. But at the end, that's where you can go in with, you know, maybe some pattern paper or some coordinating paper and then cover those up. Do you see how my base of my box is white? And then I added the paper on the outside. And that's the same. You'll see this seam right here on the top of the box. But once you cover it with paper, you won't see that. So I'm just going to push that down. Now these are just going to reinforce the box, these pieces right here. So I'm going to open them up so I can put glue on. It just makes it, I think, the lid of the box a little bit more sturdy. So let's go ahead and get glue on all of these. So these will fold down, and it just makes kind of a nice finish too on the box. Okay, and there is our lid. So then, as you can see, you bring in your box, and then the lid just fits down on top. So nice. Now let's go ahead and cut the bottom of our box. Okay, and then for the bottom of the box, I actually put the bottom on and didn't realize I was filming. But for the bottom of the box, this piece is 6 1/4 by 3, and that just covers it nicely. And then if you'd like, you can cut 2 of those and then push it down on the inside. If you can see, you can kind of see the seams on the inside. So if that bothers you, just cut 2 of these, 6 1/4 by 3, and then you could put that one down on the inside. Okay, but bring in our lid, and that closes up just so nicely. Isn't that just a fun and easy recipe card holder? Now I'm just bringing in my circle punch, and I'm going to circle punch that there. You could also make a longer notch, whatever you would like to do. But then these cute little recipe cards just fit down in there nicely. And then if you'd like, now you can go on and put some coverings on the top, on the sides, on the bottom, on the back, on the front, whatever you would like. But there is the base for our recipe card holder. Once again, remember coupon code Smile by Holly at checkout, and you will receive 10% off your purchase. Hey, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you here. I hope you guys have a fun crafting day, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.